North Korea has fired a suspected intercontinental ballistic missile yet again. This comes just a day after it launched a smaller missile and warned of fiercer military responses to the US for boosting its security presence in the region. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has said the missile is believed to have fallen into the country's exclusive economic zone. Kishida called the launch absolutely unacceptable. There are no reports of damage to ships or aircraft so far. Talking to the press in Bangkok, Kishida said Japan, the United States and South Korea must closely coordinate to work towards complete denuclearization of North Korea. The exclusive economic zone extends up to 200 nautical miles from Japan's coastline beyond the limits of its territorial waters. The Japanese Defense Ministry had earlier said the missile was ICBM class. It was North Korea's second launch in 2 days as the isolated state continues a record-breaking blitz that has sent fears of a nuclear test soaring. For more on this, let's now go across to our correspondent Gilbert, who joins us from Tokyo. Chris, North Korea firing yet another ballistic missile, and this of course comes after its repeatedly warned of fiercer military responses against the US regional security presence. What more do we know about the latest missile launch? Clearly, the Japanese Prime Minister is furious and not without reason.
Yes, well, another day, another North Korean missile launch. The exceptional thing about this one is that it does seem to have been an intercontinental ballistic missile. Usually the North Korean missiles are short-range ones fired just into the Sea of Japan, short of Japanese waters. This one flew a long way between Japan and Russia up towards the northern island of Hokkaido and landed inside Japanese waters. It was a very anxious wait while it was flying through the air. It took about an hour, and 40 minutes after the first reports that it was launched, the reports were that it was still flying, and so even for reporters, that's very anxiety-inducing. I was checking my cell phone for the J-alert system to see if there were any government updates about any danger to Japan itself. Luckily, there wasn't, although it did fall inside the territory. Now, the reason for that long flight time is that these long-range missiles obviously have to fly a long way, and for Pyongyang to avoid flying them over countries like Japan, they have to fly them up. And so this one flew 2,000 kilometers, along the surface of the water, but it flew 6,000 kilometers up in the air, almost 3 times as fast, straight up and straight down. So that's a long, long time that these missiles are in the air, and it's a long, long wait for people here in Tokyo to find out where it's going to land and what is going to happen. The implication of that long flight time as well is that North Korean missiles are becoming more sophisticated and more controlled, and have the capacity to not just reach US Army bases in the region, such as at Guam, Seoul, Okinawa and so on, but that they may eventually have the ability to reach America itself.
Capability to reach the US mainland, now that is a very, very serious development, one that is not going to be taken lightly at all by the United States. Therefore, the question that arises, Chris, is what kind of a response can we now expect from the US and its allies, Japan and South Korea, to this latest provocation from North Korea?
Well, starting with Japan, you said it earlier, the Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is furious. He's always furious when these launches happen, and he's particularly furious at the moment. He's condemned it, he's protesting it, and the response has been fairly standard from the government to hold an emergency meeting with the defense minister for people to be deployed to the scene where the rocket landed west of Hokkaido to do data analysis and so on and so forth. Pyongyang has said that it is, been provoked by American military presence in the region. It usually fires these rockets in response to some kind of US, Japan or South Korean military action. At the moment, there is Operation Keen Sword going on, not quite near the Korean peninsula, closer to Taiwan, but that involves many US and Japanese naval ships and their fleet, as long as other countries in the defense-packed countries such as Australia, South Korea, New Zealand and so on conducting naval drills. It may be in response to that, and that is being wrapped up tomorrow. But in terms of what the response from here is going to be, the exceptional thing about this launch today is that it did land inside Japanese waters. What kind of response does that warrant from the United States and Japan? Does that warrant a verbal slap on the wrist, more condemnations, more protestations, or are we going to see a heightened military action like we did in the last few weeks between South Korea and North Korea, when there was a lot of military action happening around the Korean Peninsula area? There are concerns that North Korea is still progressing towards a nuclear test. And so will this be a verbal reaction by the United States, or will it be a strong reaction by the United States?
Well, the missile landing in Japan's exclusive economic zone, certainly a very serious development for the country. What kind of response are we likely to see? That remains the big question. Thanks very much, Chris, for getting us all those details.